Hello everyone. In this session, we are dealing with Erich Fromm theory of personality. Erich Fromm was a neo-Freudian psychoanalyst who suggested a theory of personality based on two primary needs, the need for freedom and the need for belonging. He suggested that people develop certain personality styles or strategies in order to deal with the anxiety created by feelings of isolation. Biography of Erich Fromm. Erich Fromm's humanistic psychoanalysis looks at people from the perspective of psychology, history, and anthropology. He was born in March 23, 1900, in Frankfurt, in Germany. He is well known not only as a psychoanalyst and social psychologist, but also as an important representative of 20th century humanism. He studied the emotional problems common in free societies. Fromm believed that social and historical forces influence human problems. After receiving his PhD in sociology in 1920s, Fromm began studying psychoanalysis and became an analyst. In 1934, Fromm moved to the United States and began a psychoanalytic practice in New York. He died in Switzerland in 1980. Fromm's basic assumptions about persons. Fromm's most basic assumption is that individual personality can be understood only in the light of human history. Fromm believed that humans, unlike other animals, have been torn away from their prehistoric union with nature. He introduced the concept of human dilemma, a condition wherein humans have no powerful instincts to adapt to a changing world. Instead, they have acquired the facility to reason. The human dilemma consists of reasoning facility, awareness as isolated beings, permits them to survive, and the tendency to solve insoluble dichotomies. Fundamental dichotomies proposed by Erich Fromm were: the first and most fundamental dichotomy is that between life and death. A second dichotomy is that humans are capable of conceptualizing the goal of complete self realization. But we also are aware that life is too short to reach that goal. The third dichotomy is that people are ultimately alone, yet we cannot tolerate isolation. Human needs proposed by Erich Fromm were: as animals, humans are motivated by such physiological needs as hunger, sex, and safety, but they can never resolve their human dilemma by satisfying these animal needs. So, the human needs is also known as existential needs. They are of five kinds: relatedness, transcendence, rootedness, sense of identity, and frame of orientation. Relatedness. The first human need or existential need is relatedness, that is, the drive for union with another person or other persons. Fromm postulated three basic ways in which a person may relate to the world: submission, power, and love. Submissive people search for a relationship with domineering people. When a submissive person and a domineering person find each other, they frequently establish a symbiotic relationship, one that is satisfying to both partners. Fromm defined love as a union with somebody or something outside oneself under the condition of retaining the separateness and integrity of one's own life. Next is transcendence. Human beings are driven by the need for transcendence. It is defined as the urge to rise above a passive and accidental existence and into the realm of purposefulness and freedom. Humans can be creative in other ways. They can create art, religion, ideas, laws, material production, and love. A third existential need or human need is for rootedness, or the need to establish roots or to feel at home again in the world. When humans evolved as a separate species, they lost their home in the natural world. The consequent feelings of isolation and helplessness became unbearable. However, people may also seek rootedness through the non productive strategy of fixation. The fourth human need or existential need is for a sense of identity or the capacity to be aware of ourselves as a separate entity. Because we have been torn away from nature, we need to form a concept of ourselves to be able to say I am or I am the subject of my actions. The final or human need or existential need is for a frame of orientation. Being split off from nature, humans need a roadmap, a frame of orientation to make their way through the world. Without such a map, humans would be confused and unable to act purposefully and consistently. That is, there is a consistent way of looking at the world refers to goal or destinations. Next, mechanisms of escape. Mechanisms of escape refers to a basic anxiety that produces a frightening sense of isolation and aloneness. People attempt to flee from freedom through a variety of escape mechanisms. The first escape mechanism is authoritarianism. From defined authoritarianism as the tendency to give up the independence of one's own individual self and to fuse oneself with somebody or something. Thereof tokens masochism and sadism. Masochism results from basic feelings of powerlessness, weakness, and inferiority and is aimed at joining the self to a more powerful person. Sadism refers to more socially harmful. The other escape mechanism is destructiveness. Destructiveness is rooted in the feeling of aloneness, isolation, and powerlessness. It does not depend on a continuous relationship with another person. Rather, it seeks to do away with other people. A third means of escape is conformity. People who conform try to escape from a sense of aloneness and isolation by giving up their individuality and becoming whatever other people desire them to be. The other means of escape is positive freedom. Positive freedom refers to a solution of the human dilemma. It also represents overcoming of loneliness, achieving union with the world and maintain individuality. Next is character orientations or personality types. Fromm also believed that character is something deeply ingrained and difficult to change. He proposed both productive and non-productive personality types. Productive means healthy personality type while non-productive means unhealthy personality types. First one refers to receptive type. The receptive type is characterized by a need for constant support from others. That is, the only way they can relate to the world is by receiving, more concerned with receiving than giving. They tend to be passive, needy, and totally dependent upon others. These people require constant support from family, friends, and others. The positive qualities insisted in them were loyalty, acceptance, and trust, while negative qualities were passivity, lack of self confidence, etc. Next is exploitative type. The exploitative type is willing to lie, cheat, and manipulate others in order to get what they need. The positive qualities insisted in them were impulsive, proud, and charming. Egocentric, arrogant, and seducing were some negative qualities. Hoarding. The hoarding type means they cope with insecurity by never parting with anything. They often collect a massive amount of possessions and often seem to care more about their material possessions than they do about people. Positive qualities were orderliness, punctuality, cleanliness. Negative qualities were rigidity, sterility, lack of creativity. Marketing type. The marketing character is an outgrowth of modern commerce in which trade is no longer personal but carried out by large faceless corporations. They depend on the ability to sell themselves. There is no permanent principles or values. Positive qualities of marketing type of people were open-mindedness and adaptability, and negative qualities were wasteful and opportunistic. The productive orientation has three dimensions: working, loving, and reasoning. Productive people work toward positive freedom and a continuing realization of their potential. They are the most healthy of all character types. Productive love is characterized by four qualities of love: care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. Productive thinking, which cannot be separated from productive work and love, is motivated by a concerned interest in another person or object. Healthy people see others as they are, from belief that healthy people rely on some combination of all five character orientations. Personality disorders. People who are incapable of love and uniting with others are said to be some personality disorders. Some personality disorders were necrophilia, malignant narcissism, and incestuous symbiosis. Necrophilia means any attraction to death, hates humanity, and destructive behavior is a manifestation of their basic character. Malignant narcissism, which embodies the perception of reality so that everything belonging to a narcissistic person is valued and everything belonging to another is devalued. Incestuous symbiosis refers to extreme dependence on the mother or mother surrogate. It may be another person or object. An example for character orientation proposed by Eric Fromm, where there is a study of social character in an isolated farming village in Mexico, and he found that all character orientation except the marketing one was there. An overview of Fromm's theory. It emphasizes the influence of socio-biological factors, history, economics, and class structure. Humanities. Separation from the natural world has produced feelings of loneliness and isolation, called basic anxiety. Next theory we have to discuss about is Erik Erikson's theory of personality. Introduction. Erik Erikson was an ego psychologist. He emphasized the role of culture and society and the conflicts that can take place within the ego itself. He maintained that personality develops in a predetermined order and builds upon each previous stages. This is called epigenetic principle. Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages were: he assumes that crisis occurs at each stage of development and they are of the psychosocial nature. Successful completion of each stage leads to a healthy personality and acquisition of basic virtues. Failure to complete the stage successfully can lead to inhibition in completion of other stage and an unhealthy personality. The 8 stages of psychosocial development identified by Erikson were: stage 1, that is the infancy stage, trust versus mistrust, that is from birth to 18 months. Stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt, toddlerhood, 18 months to 3 years. Stage 3 refers to initiative versus guilt, that is the preschooler stage, 3 to 5 years of age. Stage 4 refers to industry versus inferiority, that is the elementary school age, and it begins from 6 to 12 and it begins from 6 years and ends with 12 years. Stage 5 refers to identity versus role confusion, that is the adolescence stage, that is from 12 to 18 years. Sixth stage refers to the intimacy versus isolation, that is the early adulthood stage, that is from 18 to 35 years. Stage 7 refers to generativity versus stagnation, that is middle age, from 35 to 60 years. Stage 8 refers to integrity versus despair, that is later life, that is 60 plus. The first stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, that is stage 1, trust versus mistrust, that is from birth to 18 months. That is the first stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development occurs between birth and 1.5 years of age and is the most fundamental stage in life, because an infant is utterly dependent Developing trust is based on the dependability and the quality of the child's caregivers. If the infant is properly cared, well handled, nurtured, and loved, he will develop optimism, a sense of trust, confidence, and security. If basic needs are not met, he becomes insecure and mistrustful. Stage 2. This stage takes place during early childhood and is focused on children developing a greater sense of personal control. Children are just starting to gain a little independence. They are starting to perform basic action on their own and making simple decisions about what they prefer. That is, there is a struggle for autonomy. Increasingly, he or she wants autonomy, but often can't, leading to frustration for the child. Successful completion leads to the virtue of will, and there is a balance between independence and discipline. The third stage of psychosocial development takes place during the preschool years. At this stage, children begin to assert their power and control over the world through directing, play, and other social interactions. Children who are successful at this stage feel capable and able to lead others. Those who fail to acquire this skill are left with a sense of guilt, self-doubt, and lack of initiative. Stage 4. The fourth psychosocial stage takes place during the early school years. Through social interactions, children begin to develop a sense of pride in their accomplishment and abilities. Industry refers to being industrious or hardworking or competent. Teachers plays an important role in the child's life. The child also learns to win recognition. Encouragement leads to competence, and the lack of it leads to development inertia. The fifth psychosocial stage takes place during the often turbulent teenage years. This stage plays an essential role in developing a sense of personal identity, which will continue to influence behavior and development for the rest of a person's life. Bodily changes and changes in expectations with oneself and with the society. Self-identity occurs. How much freedom to grant and how much control to assume. The young person is now both a child and an adult. There is a confusion between their role, child role and an adult role. Success leads to fidelity, committing oneself to others or accepting others despite ideological differences. Stage 6, where intimacy versus isolation. There is an explore a relationship leading to a longer term commitments with someone other than a family member. Avoidance of intimacy and fear of commitments can often lead to isolation, loneliness. Success in this stage will lead to the virtue of love. Stage 7, generativity versus stagnation. Adults need to create or nurture things that will outlast them, often by having children or creating a positive change that benefits other people. Success leads to feelings of usefulness and accomplishments, while failure results in shallow involvement in the world. Leaving their mark for generations that follow, raising children, being productive at work, and becoming involved in community activities and organizations. Success leads to feelings of usefulness and accomplishment, virtue of care. Failure results in feeling stagnant and unproductive. The final psychosocial stage occurs during old age and is focused on reflecting back on life. At this point in development, people look back on the events of their lives and determine if they are happy with the life that they lived or if they regret the things they did or didn't work. Looking back at achievements, failures, decisions, their impact, etc., there is a perception of their life journey. Feeling of unproductiveness leads to despair, often leading to depression. Success leads to virtue of wisdom, closure, and satisfaction. Erickson's theory differed from many others because it addressed development throughout the entire lifespan, including old age. Older adults need to look back on life and feel a sense of fulfillment. Success at this stage leads to feelings of wisdom, while failure results in regret, bitterness, and despair. Some educational implications related to Erik Erikson's psychosocial development theory were: this theory is a very powerful way for building self-awareness and for improving oneself, as it helps to understand a person's learning according to his or her personal differences, allowing the child to play with various natural, simple materials and role play for the expression of fantasy and imagination. Have a classroom library where children can pick their own books during reading time. Thank you.